The Golden State is bleeding out. What was once the absolute pinnacle of the American dream has transformed into a financial death trap of epic proportions. We are witnessing a historic exodus driven by the highest state income tax in the country and a cost of living that defies all logic. It is pure madness, but it goes much deeper than just high prices and greedy landlords. Major home insurance giants are abandoning the state entirely due to the massive risk of apocalyptic wildfires, leaving everyday buyers holding uninsurable bags of depreciating wood. Factor in a devastating new mansion tax, unchecked homelessness creeping into the most affluent suburbs, and the constant looming threat of the next catastrophic earthquake, and you have a perfect storm. Overzealous developers completely ignored these warning signs, blindly building sprawling new communities that are now sitting completely deserted. As the voice behind Florida houses, I watch real estate markets across the entire country, but I have never seen a collapse quite as systematic and brutal as this one. Today, we are breaking down the absolute worst offenders in this unraveling market, exposing a trail of empty homes and shattered equity. Number 10 is Sacramento. Once hailed as the ultimate safe haven for Bay Area tech refugees, the capital city is now choking on its own overvalued housing inventory. During the pandemic boom, builders simply couldn't pour concrete fast enough to satisfy the frantic, irrational demand. Now, those brand new suburban subdivisions look like manicured ghost towns. The highest state income tax in the nation is finally forcing even loyal government contractors to pack up and flee across the border to Nevada. It makes zero sense. You are paying premium coastal real estate prices for a landlocked city that bakes in triple-digit heat all summer long. Desperate sellers are slashing their listing prices by 6 figures, yet the weekend open houses remain completely empty. Buyers are utterly paralyzed by high borrowing costs and the looming seasonal threat of rolling blackouts. Sacramento is a glaring warning sign of a localized market crash, but it is absolute child's play compared to the scorched earth reality waiting for us at number 9. Number 9 is Fresno. Welcome to the agricultural heartland of the state, where the local housing market is drying up faster than the valley's depleted water reservoirs. Wall Street investors poured billions into this region, betting heavily that remote workers would tolerate the brutal conditions in exchange for a cheap mortgage. They were dead wrong. Home insurance companies are pulling out of the surrounding areas entirely, leaving Fresno buyers stranded with uninsurable properties due to their proximity to devastating wildfire zones. The financial risk is immense. We are literally talking about brand new starter homes sitting vacant for over 200 days on the MLS. To make matters worse, the local economy is buckling under severe environmental regulations that are crushing the agricultural sector. Corporate flippers who bought at the absolute peak are now caught in a vicious downward spiral, bleeding cash every single month. Fresno's collapse is a textbook case of speculative greed, yet the financial trap hiding in our next city makes this dusty valley look like a safe bet. Number 8 is Palm Springs. The iconic desert playground for the rich and famous is rapidly turning into a depreciating asset trap of epic proportions. During the recent remote work boom, wealthy buyers drove prices to astronomical heights, transforming modest mid-century homes into multi-million-dollar luxury estates. The economic hangover is brutal. The sweeping new mansion tax in California is terrifying high-end buyers, freezing the luxury real estate market completely solid. Combine that massive tax burden with skyrocketing HOA fees and exorbitant energy costs just to cool these massive glass houses, and the math simply stops working. Short-term rental regulations have significantly tightened recently, destroying the easy Airbnb revenue that previously sustained these bloated, oversized mortgages. Now, you have whole streets of pristine, modern estates sitting completely dark on weekends. The relentless desert heat is melting away property equity at an unprecedented rate, leaving luxury investors desperate for an exit strategy. Palm Springs is hard proof that even the wealthiest enclaves aren't safe, but the sheer volume of abandoned construction at number 7 will make your blood run cold. Number 7 is Oakland. A city that promised a more affordable alternative to Silicon Valley is currently watching its real estate market implode under the weight of systemic failure. Rampant crime and a severe lack of public safety are forcefully driving the middle class out of the city limits. It is a mass exodus. Entire retail corridors have been completely abandoned, leaving residents in a sprawling urban desert with no basic amenities. Brand new condo developments that took years to permit and build are now sitting largely empty, with developers offering massive concessions just to secure a single lease. The property tax burden remains absurdly high, penalizing the few homeowners who actually decide to stay and fight for their neighborhoods. Oakland is caught in a doom loop where falling tax revenues lead to worse city services, which in turn drives property values even lower. Homeowners are effectively trapped in upside-down mortgages while the city crumbles around them. Oakland is a tragic story of civic mismanagement, but the bankruptcy echoes haunting our next city prove that things can always get worse. Number 6 is Vallejo. This waterfront commuter town has a dark financial history, and the current real estate data suggests it is tumbling right back into the abyss. Decades ago, Vallejo filed for bankruptcy, and the scars of that financial ruin are tearing open once again as property values plummet. Investors bought up massive blocks of older homes here, attempting to flip them to desperate San Francisco commuters looking for a bargain. The bargain was a lie. With tech companies permanently shifting away from 5-day office weeks, the grueling commute from Vallejo is no longer a necessary evil. Consequently, demand for these flipped properties has fallen right off a cliff. Houses are lingering on the market for months, subjected to endless price cuts that completely erase any potential profit margins. Furthermore, the rising threat of sea level changes and unpredictable seismic activity is making property insurance here astronomically expensive. Vallejo's market is effectively paralyzed by fear and lack of demand, but the industrial collapse happening at number 5 is wiping out entire neighborhoods overnight. Number 5 is Bakersfield. Built on the dual pillars of crude oil and massive agriculture, this working-class stronghold is being suffocated by California's relentless legislative machine. Stringent environmental regulations are aggressively phasing out the fossil fuel industry, systematically eliminating the highest-paying jobs in the region. The economic fallout is staggering. Builders recently finished massive tracts of affordable housing on the outskirts of town, precisely as the primary workforce began to lose their livelihoods. Now, you have rows upon rows of identical vacant new builds baking under the Central Valley sun. Out-of-state investors who bought these properties sight unseen are panicking, realizing they cannot find qualified tenants to cover their rising holding costs. The math is undeniably toxic when you factor in California's unforgiving property taxes and the surging cost of basic utilities. Bakersfield is transforming from a blue-collar boomtown into a sprawling monument of economic displacement. The oil money might be drying up here, but the logistical nightmare destroying the housing market at number 4 is a whole different beast. Number 4 is San Bernardino. Once the undisputed logistics and warehousing capital of the West Coast, this massive inland empire city is facing a severe reality check. For years, the explosion of e-commerce drove massive job growth here, prompting developers to blanket the desert with new housing tracts. Widespread warehouse automation and shifting global supply chains are rapidly eliminating the very jobs that supported this localized housing boom. Consequently, mortgage delinquency rates in San Bernardino are quietly creeping up to terrifying levels not seen in over a decade. The local homeless crisis has violently spilled out of the downtown core and into the freshly paved suburban neighborhoods, destroying property values. It is completely out of control. Middle-class families are dumping their homes at massive losses just to escape the rising crime and diminishing economic opportunities. San Bernardino is crumbling under the weight of a shifting economy, but the environmental catastrophe erasing millions in equity at number 3 is truly unprecedented. Number 3 is Santa Cruz. This picturesque coastal enclave is experiencing a housing crisis driven entirely by the undeniable violent forces of nature. Millions of dollars in real estate equity are literally crumbling into the Pacific Ocean due to severe, accelerated coastal erosion. It is terrifying to watch. Insurance companies have completely blacklisted massive sections of the coastline, rendering these multi-million-dollar properties virtually unsellable to anyone requiring a traditional mortgage. Cash buyers have entirely vanished, spooked by the very real possibility that their luxury investment could slide down a cliff during the next major winter storm. The city's strict anti-growth policies mean no new affordable housing is being built, while the existing luxury inventory sits entirely stagnant. Homeowners here are trapped in a bizarre purgatory, paying exorbitant California taxes on properties that the market deems fundamentally worthless due to environmental risk. Santa Cruz is a prime example of nature reclaiming its territory, but the speculative disaster unfolding at number 2 is a purely man-made catastrophe. Number 2 is Stockton. If you remember the devastating 2008 financial crisis, you know that Stockton was the absolute poster child for foreclosures and neighborhood abandonment. History is aggressively repeating itself. During the recent frenzy, buyers who were priced out of the Bay Area flooded into Stockton, engaging in ridiculous bidding wars for basic stucco boxes. Remote work mandates have been aggressively rolled back, and tech workers are realizing that a 3-hour daily commute is a psychological nightmare. They are panic selling their Stockton homes simultaneously, flooding the local market with excess inventory and triggering a severe price crash. Entire blocks of recently completed subdivisions are sitting utterly devoid of life, looking exactly like the haunting foreclosure photos from 15 years ago. The city is once again facing massive budget shortfalls as property tax revenues plummet alongside home valuations. Stockton is a tragic monument to real estate amnesia, but the absolute devastation wiping out the market at number 1 is the most shocking collapse in modern American history. Number 1 is San Francisco. The ultimate crown jewel of California real estate has shattered into a million unfixable pieces. The downtown commercial sector is essentially dead, dragging the surrounding residential markets down into a bottomless, terrifying financial abyss. Tech billionaires and massive corporations have fled the city, taking their tax dollars and their highly paid workforces with them. Luxury high-rise condominiums in the Soma district are sitting completely empty, with units trading at 40 to 50% discounts from their peak valuations. The city's infamous doom loop is in full effect. Skyrocketing crime and unchecked public drug use drive away businesses, which kills tax revenue, which further degrades public safety. Even with massive price cuts, wealthy buyers refuse to invest in a city that seemingly refuses to enforce basic laws or protect private property. Brand new, ultra-luxury residential towers are struggling to fill even a fraction of their units, bleeding institutional capital on a daily basis. San Francisco's collapse is the ultimate cautionary tale of what happens when a city takes its wealth for granted.